A friend recently asked me what I thought of Jonathan Glazer's 2013 sci-fi thriller, Under the Skin. I recalled it as a film that invites a viewer to dive in, intellectually speaking, but offers only the shallowest waters in which to explore. Like a puzzle that's interesting to contemplate only until you realize it has no solution. Nevertheless, I decided to give it another viewing. The movie opens with the creation of a body for a presumably alien being referred to only as the female, for the purposes of infiltrating human society. So far, so good, as the role is well suited to Scarlett Johansson's complete lack of emotional range, and indeed I'd place her performance in this film alongside those in Lost in Translation and Girl with a Pearl Earring as among her best. Some would likely draw comparisons here to Kubrick's 2001, given the careful arrangement of geometric shapes, the female's vocal testing and assembly in reverse of Hal's disassembling rendition of Daisy.
Field, field, film, filmed, films, foil, failed, fell, fells, go, girls.
Any comparison to Kubrick, however, is overly generous, as I'll get more into later. The female is assisted by the bad man, who seems to be a male of her species as opposed to a co-opted human accomplice in the style of Dracula's Renfield. He is her procurer, but at times also seems to be her supervisor. The exact nature of the female, the bad man, their relationship, and their activities is kept ambiguous on purpose, and this lends the movie to a range of interpretation. In my opinion, too broad a range, but there are doubtless multiple perspectives from which to approach the material. Is it a sci-fi horror, a tragic tale of vampirism, a morality play about human behavior that suggests less is chosen than determined by nature? I like that the female operates competently as a human being. Where most alien contact movies depict either invading drones, as in War of the Worlds or Independence Day, or amusingly naive interlopers subject to fish-out-of-water jokes, along the lines of E.T. or Starman. Here we see that she moves among people with relative confidence, and while she avoids crowds, can communicate as needed. She drives her van with practiced assurance, which seems to indicate either that she's done this before or had practice in anticipation of her arrival among humans. She also is at least minimally adept at seduction rituals, indicating a knowledge and understanding of human sexual rights.
No girlfriend, really. You're very charming.
Like a human observing animals mating, she understands the appeal for the subjects without sharing in it. She arouses the male without herself becoming emotionally involved. It's interesting to note that one of her first acts, before engaging in the hunt, was to reclothe herself, despite the provisions of the bad man having been acquired at some risk. She dons a fur coat, with its traditional associations of feminine privilege, and also the predatory nature of human beings, who wear the skins of their prey, just as the female herself dons the skin of a woman. When she has her victims isolated, they weirdly sink into an inky pool as she draws them in. There's an unnatural darkness all around, and a weird musical cue that suggests otherworldliness. Later we learn that they are sort of digested in this fluid state. I took this not as a literal depiction, but as a representation of something not readily visualized. As such, I found it very creative and interesting, a good example of how a little imagination can go much further than a big budget. So we're off to a good start. But then something happens. It seems that by wearing the human skin, the female is increasingly subject to impulses that are perhaps physiological at base. Instincts somehow carried over to her from the vessel she inhabits. Impulses that are distinctly human. At one point, she is closely examined by the bad man, as though the risk of this occurring was known to them and he was guarding against it. And indeed, if she had practiced her human behaviors in advance, or had prior experience, it seems this is a danger they should be aware of. And this opens up broader questions. If these beings have knowledge and understanding of human nature and behaviors, why is this knowledge limited to things like the operation of motor vehicles and the luring of eligible men with the promise of sex? When the female finds herself exposed among crowds, she is visibly uncomfortable and often confused. We see that the human sense of community expressed by the partygoers who drag her along is apparently unknown to her. When she stumbles and people assist, their compassion seems to befuddle her. She doesn't merely fail to share in their experience and feeling, she fails to grasp the nature of their behavior and is simply confused. She's equally confused when confronted with the hostility of idly belligerent youths. There's no fear in her reaction, just lack of comprehension. So she understands the sexual impulse, but not the impulses of empathy. She grasps predatory behaviors, but not the aggression of the mob. At a certain point, the female appears to recognize herself in the human reflection she sees in a mirror, and she no longer seems connected with the more alien insects she encounters. She dabbles in attempts at humanity. When she picks up the deformed man, it's unclear whether she's unaware of any significant difference in his appearance from that of others, but she does not follow through with his capture and consumption. She frees him and attempts to flee herself, to embrace the human nature that seems to be seeping from the skin inward. The suggestion here is that the physiological-driven tendencies unique to human beings can override her more basic nature, that she is becoming what she's been pretending to be. Suddenly, we get the naive alien and the fish-out-of-water scenarios that I was so pleased not to see in the first part of the film. The female turns into Starman, humorously attempting to partake of human pleasures and charmingly ignorant in a way that appeals to her would-be lover. When she connects with the human man, her alien mindset makes her present as a kind of child woman of the sort often idealized in fiction, the non-judgmental, helpless, and beautiful admirer of his dreams. But it is not to be. She is not ultimately human, despite her confusion. Nevertheless, she is now invested with qualities that forbid her to continue her Black Widow behaviors. She can't be human, but she can't continue to prey on humans either. This is where the film's themes become muddled. Instead of being defeated by humanity's best qualities, she is perversely merely weakened by adopting them. She is instead ultimately defeated by humanity's worst qualities. The rapist in the woods represents the inclination towards dominance and aggression. He looks to victimize the female. As such, we understand him to be a villain, and our sympathies shift to the alien predator, our concern for her well-being overriding our sense of kinship with her human attacker. Yet from her perspective, no such judgment exists. She flees from him as she would from discovery. We have always been her enemy, and in the end, it is he who douses her in gasoline and ends the alien threat by setting her aflame. We pity our would-be destroyer and loathe our protector. We get the suggestion that criminality and xenophobia may be necessary human qualities in some vague Darwinian sense, in case of the incredibly unlikely event of infiltration by aggressive alien forces. Again, there seems to be a comparison to be made with Kubrick. There's the presentation of humanity's dual nature, of compassion and community paired inextricably to aggression and violence. Both are alien to the female, both fundamentally part of human identity. But again, the basis of this observation is of the thinnest possible nature, based as it is on the idea that our uniquely aggressive impulses are necessary, but they're only necessary if we're confronted with a nuanced alien invasion such as the film depicts. Barring weirdly vampiric aliens out to eliminate us one by one, the argument for those qualities normally frowned upon vanishes. I feel like Under the Skin is a story that wants desperately to be taken seriously as a profound statement about human nature, but it instead comes off as a highly stylized presentation of rather shallow material. Humanity is saved by a rapist and murderer, who, confronted by something alien, vulnerable, and beautiful, is impelled to set it ablaze. So while our best impulses lead the female to empathize, or at least to identify with humanity, they also made her vulnerable to our worst impulses, which are responsible for our salvation. And if this is the point of the story, what have we learned? Peering into that black goo so prettily displayed in Glazer's film, we see only opacity, no reflection of ourselves, no depth of what's beyond, just a lack of light. As always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, leave any comments you may have, and check out the other videos on our channel.